I'm Annie Prima Martin. I'm a metaphysician and Army vet, and I'm here with Kelley Guidry, who is also a veteran and one of the co-founders of Forgotten Not Gone.
Right.
So Kelley, if you're okay, I want to ask a couple questions about your recent sessions.
Absolutely.
So most recently, you had a session and we did the Biofield program. And it took about 4 hours total. What was your perception going into it versus the perception after the session?
Again, like when we spoke beforehand, I told you I could not pinpoint what was going on with me. Like I didn't know. I just knew that I was blocked. Is the best way to describe it. Something was going on that was causing me to be stagnant and stand still and fearful of moving forward. Like I didn't know which way to go, even if I decided to. So going into it, I kind of just let myself feel open because I didn't have an idea of what was going on. I just made sure that my mind was open to what I was about to experience and not prejudging what was going to happen or putting expectations in my head of how I expected to feel and what I expected it to do afterward. I just came completely open.
How would you describe the session now that we're about a week away from the past session?
I'm definitely unblocked. Whatever it was, and because I had multiple things going on, and that's another thing. I didn't really know I had I thought it was one thing, but I had a combination of things going on that had me not necessarily procrastinating, but scared to know which direction to go in next. I feel completely unblocked. It's like floodgates open for me. And that's a beautiful thing because I work with veterans. I'm a caregiver. So I provide help to other people. And if I don't know what's going on with me, how can I help someone else? So that was really, really big for me, that it unblocked me. That's what I feel like.
How soon did you see the results?
The next day. Well, I saw the same day, actually, because I hadn't been having any pain. You know, I have really large fibroids, and the energy that flowed through my fibroid, which was also a blockage of the physical aspect. I felt pressure that day, and then I've been having it the whole time since. And it's just a dull kind of nagging pain, but I feel like something is going on inside of there. And it's like when I had my session before.
The quantum healing hypnosis a year ago.
Right.
And so let's go to that. When you had that session, did you know anything about quantum healing hypnosis?
No, I had never even heard of it. And I'm fairly open to almost anything because I know in my heart that we're energy. And when you work on your body and you work on your mind, there's a spiritual aspect of it, and they all go hand in hand. And that's what I would encourage people to be open to that. You can't work on your brain without doing something physical, and vice versa. And then the spiritual realm, whether you believe in whatever you believe in, whatever higher power you choose to believe in, it's all together. So I feel like that work needs to be done. So I did go into it knowing that I would be working on my mind or maybe my subconscious to some aspect, but I had no idea what you could do. And it was amazing. It was amazing.
So going back a year ago from the quantum healing, what came of that? What were some of the results that you saw either immediately or within a few days after that session?
I had some fibroid issues that did dissolve. My fibroid did dissolve. It let itself go. And then I realized that some of my physical ailments that I deal with, because I do deal with chronic pain, was some of the reasons that were affecting my mental choices. So that was huge. And then also I had started a new business, and I'm still with that company. And it allowed me just to explode and be open to what was coming my way and be ready for that. And I'm trying to think of kind of like what I was telling you before, that one was a little bit harder for me because I had to relinquish some control. And I'm not a control freak, but it's just a little bit scary knowing that somebody's going to be, I thought somebody's communicating with my subconscious, and my body just reacted. It wouldn't let go. When it finally did, and I went back and I listened to the tape, I was like, oh, okay, I did let go a little bit, because I felt like I was aware, but clearly based on my answers when I listened back to it, I wasn't aware. Versus the what is it called?
The Biofield.
The Biofield we just had. So I feel like the last session that I had, even though I was conscious and aware of it, I feel like I relinquished a lot more control than before, because my body wasn't fighting anything. It gave me the illusion that I was going to be in control anyway. So my body kind of let go and my mind let go.
And you got to participate in it, where quantum healing, you're not participating other than communicating. Like, it's a full conscious conversation, but the body is at rest, where in the Biofield, we have mind, body, and spirit all at the table participating in the event. And I think I felt more. Oh, yeah. When I was in more, like you said, when you were flowing the energy through the fiber, I felt I felt the temperature changes when I went to each bio field that was around me. That was unique. And I was definitely more connected, involved in this session. You and we worked with another caregiver recently, and without mentioning names or situations specifically, we participated in just a discovery session. Mm-hmm. In that discovery session, which on my website, I have 15 minutes available, but this particular one was 2 hours in length. Were you surprised by anything that came from that discovery session? The conclusions that were made, or the direction that session went in? So you mean as far as what you said and the person confirmed? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll start that with saying my last session that I had, I was open, but there's always some, like, what can this really do for me? It's just like if you go see a therapist, same thing. Yeah, there's skepticism. Right, and I had to lay down. When I lay down on the bed, and you gave me a pad or something to put on my stomach, and then you said, well, let's see which one you want. And so you put one on there, and then you took it away, and then you put the other one, and you took that one away. And in my mind, I said, I didn't move or anything. In my mind, I said, oh no, put that back. And you said, okay, we can put it back. It's fine. Calm down. And I was like, I didn't even say anything out loud. And that really freaked me out. That made me think, okay, all right, she's got skills. And I was like, well, why did you? She was like, because I felt you. Okay, I'll put it back. Like, the way you reacted as if I had said it out loud. So coming into this, I knew you had talent. I knew you knew what you were doing. But this one to me was spot on. Like, talking to the person that we were talking to, the things that were just coming up, they were like, yep. And yep. Oh, wow. Yep. And they're dealing with another person, and you were able, based off of her, I'm sensing based off of her energy, to say things and confirm things about the other person that the issues were with, and that's completely between them. So that's one of the reasons why I pulled the trigger and said, okay, I'm going to the session. That 2 hour discovery we had on the phone with the individual, I was like, oh, this is a completely different person right now. I'm dealing with her, the difference between a year ago and now, man. Yeah. The difference between 2 weeks ago for me and now, excited. Yeah, it's a constant level up. Okay. Yeah. I recently went to Aruba, and I could tell in Aruba, like, okay, I just gained some new skills. Yeah, because this one was really, like, what happened when you were asking me, like, originally. So there's a thing that you were doing where you were going through like a timeline in my life. Timeline review. Mm-hmm. And you said, what about 1971? And I was thinking, 1971, well, I wasn't born.
And I was thinking, well, that timeline is off because I wasn't born. And you said, no, I believe it was something that maybe your mother transferred to you, trauma, which I completely believe. I mean, energy is energy. It does not dissipate. It simply transfers. So long story short, my mom is always calling me, and she happened to call me. And because you said we would go back to it, that's the only reason I took the call. And I was asking her, and sure enough, 1971, she had something, happen to her that made her, her decisions moving forward was based on that experience. And we hadn't really gotten to my session yet. So I think that made me open up even more, because I was like, 1970, where did she get that from? And then to have my mom confirm it with something that wasn't trivial, like she said, she was saying, oh, well, yeah, it was 1971. I was just like, I said, okay, I gotta go because I gotta get into this.
Yeah. And you were like, no, my mom would have been this age. I was like, no, it didn't feel like that age. It felt like she was a little older. And then your mom's, no, I was a little older.
Yeah. She was like, but probably about 1 or 2 years older than that.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. She confirmed it. And from then on, I think my body, my mind got in sync and relinquished again, like a tad bit more.
So you would use you said you felt lighter after the session. And almost all of my clients say the same thing. What does that mean to you? The feeling of being lighter?
It's almost like when I used to, like, if anybody has ever had asthma or a time where they couldn't breathe, they would ask me to describe what an asthma attack felt like to me, or how it felt to be able to breathe. And you would think that it feels like, oh, you can't get enough air in. But for me, it feels like, I used to say, it used to feel like an elephant was sitting on my chest. So I just constantly felt heavy. And it wasn't the actual physical thing of trying to get air in. It was more trying to, move because the pressure. Well, that's what I had been feeling since like September. I had been feeling that pressure, and it felt like it just lifted. I didn't realize I was unblocked until the following day, but I felt like whatever that pressure was that was causing me to have anxiety and just not sleep well, I felt like that was lifted, and it just felt lighter in that aspect, like I could breathe. That makes sense.
If you had any advice for veterans watching this, or anyone, what advice would you give them if they were really frustrated with medical, or frustrated in trying to identify why they're feeling what they're feeling, and they may not be getting results through MRIs, X-rays, lab work? What advice would you give them relating to what I can do?
So let me be clear that even if they are having success with medical.
No, if they're frustrated in the results that they're getting.
No, I'm going to say, if they're frustrated, or even if they're having success in what they're doing, this is something that can really open up everything. Like with my nonprofit, we use physical therapy as a way to open up your mind and open up your spirit, because it all goes together. But our little kick in the door is through physical. And I think if you're going to do like traditional medicine and stuff like that, the only way to get a full healing is to go to understand how you work, to really understand how you work. And I think that's what this did for me. I learned a lot about how I process things. I learned a lot about things that I thought I let go and I didn't let go. So I would tell veterans, you may think that what you're doing should be getting you the results that you're getting, and you don't understand why. I think this will help you understand why, because there's so much more to us mental wise than what we realize. And I think this kind of opens that door. It's like the whole package. So even, let's say you're taking medication and you're going to therapy and things are going well, I think this is much more than an added benefit. You do a session and you'll be able to have leaps and bounds using the medicine and the therapy or whatever else you're doing. Or if you're just frustrated, you're not getting anywhere, this session, I mean, you need to book a session. Even if you just do like a discovery where you talk, I'm telling you, like that 2 hour that 2-hour session. And I told Pete, I didn't know, 4 hours. 4 hours. I didn't even think I had 4 hours worth of issues. I thought it was going to be one thing. You were gonna open it up, or at least help me identify what it was. I know I had 4 hours of stuff going on that and the way I relate to people and the things that I do, I need to be aware of how I work, how my brain functions, and how I process things to be able to help other people. And if you're just stuck, what do you got to lose? What have you got to lose? If you're stagnant or you're stuck and this is not how you thought your life was going to be when when your book was being written, then try it. If you're willing to try medicine or you're willing to try therapy, this is the exact same thing, but it can open up and unlock doors that you never even, whether you believe in it or not, believe in yourself. Give your brain a chance to show you what you're made of and what it can do, because it can do so much more than what we think. We think we have to teach it, and it teaches us. That's what I learned, because I went in with all my wonderful knowledge and my brain was like, oh no. If you stop thinking you run me, this is what I can do for you, Kelley. And I was just like, okay, go ahead, Bree.
Yeah.
It's
headquarters, and we don't use all the departments in our headquarters.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
One of the things that I find interesting, and it's not just you, it's many people that come to me, is that the ego tries to interfere before the session. And I've had clients that would vomit the day before, and they thought that that was their body giving them a sign of not to come.
Oh my goodness.
Right? So you experienced something yourself.
Everything went wrong. But even prior to that, when I first initially talked to you, I actually had a conversation with my ego. And that's the first time it's ever really identified itself. And it was like, you need to go. I'm not going to let you. And it won. It won. And it told me, I knew that was not me, because I knew I needed to go. I knew I needed to do something for myself. And my ego was like, you're not going till next week. You're not going to go. You're not going to go.
You even texted me. It was comical to read it.
Yeah, I'm like, it's telling me I'm not going to go. And I'm not going to go. I can't go. It's like, it won't let me, and it was bizarre. And that was the first time I actually, because usually it just happens and you just think, oh, it must be a sign. It must be this. And 9 times out of 10, it's the ego. It's really not you. And then that morning, everything happened. Everything was happening. And when I made a decision, it doesn't matter. Then everything got out of my way. And that was bizarre. Like, I just floated there, floated to your house. There was gas in it, but prior to that, everything was going on. And I was like, oh, you're trying to make me cancel. I'm just not going to do it.
The ego, and you're not alone. You're not alone. This is frequent, where people will vomit the day before. Their body will have massive inflammation where they can't put their shoes on. They'll have like a sore throat where they can't talk, and they're like, no, I can't talk. I have to cancel. And as soon as they get to the session, they suddenly have their voice back. Like the ego had to surrender.
Yeah, when I got close, I got nervous. Yeah, when I got close, I got nervous all of a sudden. And I'm like, I'm going to my friend's house first and foremost. And I've been there before. It's very inviting. The energy is just right in the house. So there was no reason for me to get nervous. Like, it was scared that, I was going to have breakthrough, more than likely. Because when I got there, I immediately felt, I don't know, the best way to put it is just the energy of the house, like the energy in which I was. I don't know if this is the energy you're giving off or what it is, but in there I felt safe. I felt calm. And ironically, I didn't even realize it until we started talking about this. I didn't even feel my ego. Like, it wasn't even talking or doing anything at all. But right before I got there, like when I got close to the exit, I got nervous. Like, should I be doing this? What is that? You think you were going to stick me with needles, but they give you a bottle of Prozac and you take it. You don't get nervous. It's so bizarre. So bizarre.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Okay.
There have been people who showed up at my
Good.
house with no shoes, no bra, like they're rolling in because their body
my
was
goodness.
trying so hard
Fighting
to
the
hold
whole
on.
way. Yeah, fighting the whole way. Oh man.
But
Yeah,
it's
I
like
don't
a
even.
child sometimes. Our brain, the mind is the essence, is sort of, like when we think about like corporate headquarters, the mind is the people and the building, the neuroanatomy and the essence of our capabilities as a human. When it feels like it has to give, like, think about like in a corporate environment, when you feel like you have to give away your people to another department or like office space, you're like, no, we're going to find a reason to hold on to this. We need this space.
Right.
We need this corporate
Right.
or the conference room we've never used in 5 years.
Right. Or it's going to make me, like, I'm used to delegating certain things. And I just think at some point, like, that is a great analogy. I think at some point, even though your brain is capable of so much more, I think it just gets repetitious.
Yeah.
Like, whatever is easy for it, why should it work harder? You know what I mean? Like, why should it work harder? So you go here, you do this, and you keep doing that, and you don't go outside your comfort zone. And the thought that you were going to delve into that because I wasn't living up to what I wanted to be, or I was going to make this brain work. And one, it's how dare you question me?
How dare you?
Right. I've been running this show for a while. I think you're doing pretty good. You got an award, didn't you? I got you on, how dare you question me if this is all we should be doing, or can we do more? I think is what it was doing. And then, it just gets into a routine, which may not be a bad routine, but it's still routine. And it felt like its authority was being challenged by you.
Ooh.
That's what I felt.
Yeah, I think that's pretty that's pretty common across the board.
Yeah, I've been running this show. Who are you to come in and tell me this is how it should be run, or it can be run more efficiently? It felt like its authority was being challenged. Yeah.
That's even come up in sessions with other people where I'll be speaking to the ego, not even the subconscious, but the ego of the mind. And it'll say, I've kept it safe. I know what's good for the body.
Right. You wanted to venture over here, and they're only going to get hurt if they do that.
Right.
That's my ego for sure. Yeah. She makes sure I'm not going to, she makes sure I have a healthy distrust of everyone.
Yeah.
That's why when I almost got there, I got nervous, and I can override that because you are my friend. You know what I mean? Like, I'm safe with you, and I know I'm safe with you. So no amount of input is going to make me feel like I'm going to be in an unsafe situation. But my brain and my ego does that a lot. I'm constant. Even people who seem like they're not a threat to me, and I sometimes I think to myself, like, when I'm out, that's one of my PTSD issues. And I don't have it a lot, but I'm not good around a lot of people sometimes if it's just too much. And that's part of the being an empath, feeling so much. So I kind of, come off really defensive. But I felt like it tries to block me a lot, and I make people feel uncomfortable because I come off, kind of defensive until I get to know you. And I feel bad about that sometimes. And I know it's my brain, and it's a habit, and it's just a protection, defensive mode. That's all it is. Because when I was younger and I used to feel like these things, I would tell people, I know you don't know me, but you have a friend and you should tell her just to let go. Or or I'll meet one person one time and they'll be vibrating off of somebody's energy that they were around. And initially it's pain, sadness, or anger. Those are the three things I feel the most off of people. And I would just tell them, hey, tell her she's going to have to forgive him. And they'll be like, so now I get really defensive, and I'm like, even though I'm feeling that, I'm not going to tell them. I'm not going to tell anybody anything. I'm not going to let anybody in, and I'm not going to give anything out. I'm just going to be Kelley. And that's hard. That's like 24/7 trying to block something that's natural.
Yeah. I can see attachments on people, and I'll ask them permission, like, hey, can I touch you? Because my physical touch to someone will dissipate that static spiritual energy. Even if they're atheists, we all have energy. And there's times when people have gotten defensive, like, why do you need to touch me? No, you can't touch me. And I know that that's not them. It's
what
the
you're trying to get rid of.
attachment that's riding along.
Right. And I felt like I didn't have a lot of that going on when we did where you stand and you feel your the spears that are around you. What is it?
The
Biofield?
biofield layers.
Okay, yeah. I didn't know that there was things in there trying to block me.
Yeah.
From certain, and I could feel it when you had me put my hand up there. I could feel it. I didn't know. I mean, who knows how many of those people have?
Oh yeah, almost all of us do. Almost all of us do. We have something. It'd be like, like going through a couple of days without taking a shower. You're going to pick up something on our physical body.
So I would tell a veteran, in response to your last question as well, I would tell a veteran to remember basic training, right? To remember the vulnerability that we let them have control over us. Go here, eat this time, do this, with the knowledge or the belief that it was going to make us better, a better person, a better soldier, whatever, right? But we knew they didn't have malicious intent for us. I would say at least do one session. Invest in yourself with the thoughts of being vulnerable enough to know that you're going to come out a better person. There's nothing's going to happen that's negative, even if nothing happens, if that makes sense, right? I would say invest in yourself and see what may be blocking you, or see whatever, with knowing that you could come out a better functioning person. Like you said, whether you're atheist or you believe in Buddha or you believe in Jesus or you believe in whatever, karma, higher power, whatever it is, give yourself the opportunity to see if your brain has something else for you, because it does. I mean, we're mind, body, and spirit, and it's all together. You can't have one without the other. And the smoother they run, being aware of each other, the better off you are as a person.
Being co-founder with your husband with Forgotten Not Gone, you work a lot with veterans that have, let's say their tea kettle is so hot that they're whistling in such a way that it's to the brink of suicidal ideation. And there are different ways to take the kettle off that burner. When it comes to metaphysical work, I see something very different than a medical doctor or a therapist would see. How could I, with the work I do as a metaphysician, assist the veteran community in reducing the number of suicides that we see with veterans?
I think it can help because it will give them the opportunity to relieve some of that pressure enough to be able to make better decisions, or to see clear, if you will. If you're constantly like under that pressure, all your decisions are based on fight, flight, or freeze. So I think it and that's what was happening with me. I was just frozen. Like I wouldn't do anything, and my body is on autopilot. So I'm doing the normal stuff that I do with veterans. I'm making sure I walk for my health. I'm making sure, but I'm not actively engaged in what I'm doing. I'm just doing them because it's what I do. I think these sessions will give the veteran a chance to kind of review what happened in their life, see what's going on now, and then make better choices in the future, because it'll relieve some of that. And when you're in it, you can't see it. You need somebody to look from the outside and clear some of that stuff away and say, okay, this is what I see is going on. And then you can process that information better than you can if you're just like, you know what I mean? Just, and you're trying to decide, well, should I go here? Should I take this medicine, or should I do the therapy, or should I go to group therapy, or what? Sometimes you just need to sit back. And I think that's what the sessions do. They give you a chance to think clearly and see it from someone else's perspective, so that you can make the next best decision for you.
Yeah, it's really hard to think. It's really hard to have clarity when the whistle is just overwhelming the ears and the brain and the body, and all you can think about is the whistle.
And I think that's the reason they think turning it off.
Yeah.
in a permanent way. They really just want to stop it for a minute to think.
Yep.
Nobody wants to make that type of permanent decision for something that's going on right then, but it's overwhelming. And sometimes the pain is overwhelming, especially living with chronic pain. Sometimes the sadness is overwhelming and you just want to turn it off, but only for a second so you can think. That's what your session did.
Yeah.
It gave me a chance to think. It gave me a chance to turn something off in a safe environment where if I don't pay attention to it, everything's not going to fall apart. And it can do that for somebody who's having suicidal thoughts, because they're able to turn it off for a minute and they don't have to do it permanently. And then they can make the next best choices based on being able to have that quiet time.
Yeah, that's huge. It's huge just to have it, even
5-10
even
minutes.
being overwhelmed as a caregiver, or being overwhelmed without having to get the whistle blowing so loud on that kettle. Just having 2 hours to think clearly can make a huge difference.
2 hours in, that's exactly what I told you. You said, if you had to tell me how you feel right now, how do you feel? Because I couldn't pinpoint what was going on. And my exact words were, I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't really say it was anxiety. I couldn't say it was depression. I said, I feel overwhelmed. And that's just it, that feeling of just being overwhelmed, and then, making that decision and not being able to make a decision after that.
Yeah.
Because you just want to turn it off so that you can think better.
And I've been there. That was, I tell the story about coming back from deployment where I was so depleted. I'm looking at my husband. I couldn't be a wife. I couldn't be a mother. I couldn't be a business owner. All I could do was fall to my knees. And that was, I talk about that sort of a spiritual moment where I was like, God, take this, because I'm not in the place of wanting to turn off my kettle completely,
right,
permanently, but there's nothing left of me. I am a depleted battery. Mm-hmm. There's nothing left of me. And it was this voice that came in like, what took you so long? We've been waiting.
Right. I think that was the first time. What you're describing right now is the first time I allowed myself to start on a spiritual healing journey. And that's after getting sober. That's after, my spiritual quest where I was going. I still had not surrendered.
Yeah.
Like I still had not surrendered. I was still trying to control things that I could control. I would not relinquish control 100% to what is the universe, right? Whatever your higher power, whatever. I had to have some type of control. And I feel like a lot of veterans either are always trying to manipulate what they can control, or like I told you, when I was searching for things to see what could be wrong with me, I found that dysthymia, a high functioning depressor. Mm-hmm. I was depressed, and that's high functioning depression. And I said, man, I bet you a lot of veterans are high functioning people who are depressed. Mm-hmm. Because you look from the outside and you see us and you're like, oh, she's doing this, she's running this, she's blah, 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 blah. That's because that's the appearance, that's what we know. Run a mission, check, 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 check. And then, don't slow down. As long as you don't slow down and you have a mission, you'll be okay. And so we're high functioning, but we're clearly depressed. And no one can see it because we're just achieving, check, achieving, check, achieving, check. And you just keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's why you'll talk to people and they'll either say they had no idea the person was suicidal. Mm-hmm. They had no idea they were sad or angry or whatever, because we're really good at holding our stuff together. But when we make a decision, no more, we're very good at following through with that also.
Yeah. It's a brick wall and it's a fine line.
I mean, because they expect us to have a year or so of where we were just falling apart. Oh, now did you hear about her? Now she's homeless. No, the time usually for veterans, and I'm just speaking on them, not just suicide period. I'm speaking on veterans because that's my focus. The time right before they decide to do that was probably their best functioning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we were trying to hold on. So we were trying to do everything that appeared to be correct and people will say, wow, you had a wonderful job I know him and his wife had gotten a divorce, but they were co-parenting. I mean, whatever thing that happens to us, we'll try and make it work military style, Oh, we got to get a divorce because you don't like me. Well, I'm going to co-parent my ass off. Oh, you're going to, you know what I'm saying? We're up for the challenge. Meanwhile,
it becomes the mission.
It becomes the mission.
Yeah.
And inside we're just falling apart. So when we give up, there is no warning.
Yeah.
Because it's like a switch. And you'll hear that too on, like, Richard Egan does suicide for Nevada, like he does the classes. And I've heard him say, and I've heard situations, there's no one particular thing. Like, they didn't have a really bad day. It wasn't a breakup. The day was just a regular day and something snapped.
Yep. Yeah.
And they decided no more. It's usually within a 5-10, minute. And I talked to one of our veterans, lost her daughter to suicide. She's very open about it. And I had a conversation with her, and she said, I almost feel like, Kelley, something else was talking to her. It was not her decision. I feel like she was being manipulated. I feel like something was telling her this was the way to be better. So whether you believe that your mind works on its own or independently of itself, you can believe that all you want to. The best thing for us to do is to at least see if there's something else going on, in our head where we can actively play a role. Otherwise, it's going to do what it wants to do.
And the mind miswants. There's a lot of data that shows the mind will miswant, misdirect, misguide. It's a wonderful, incredible human computer system.
Correct.
But just like anything else, if a little virus gets in, it can wreak a whole lot of havoc on this beautiful system that we have. And the job of the ego is to protect the body. So if it needs to protect itself against itself, it will shut the system down.
Right. So
instead of understanding that it was never intended to run the system solo. Like, there's two CEOs, the spirit energy and the physical, the neuroanatomy and the essence have to co-create as CEOs of headquarters. But we're not taught that in the culture. We're taught the mind runs the show.
And that's it. And that's so not true.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so not true.
And, when I'm working with clients sometimes, with individuals, and they'll say, oh, I'm trying to shut off my ego. I want to be humble. I don't want to be prideful. It's like, no, those things do serve a purpose. Anger serves a purpose. Emotions serve a purpose. It's who's driving the vehicle.
Right.
If the mind is tired, let essence come over. If the essence is in a safe place, and that's a huge word, safety, right? Then ego can drive, and ego will do great things for the whole system. But if the ego thinks the ego is the only one that can drive the vehicle, we have a problem. Because
and that was I remember telling a therapist that's my ego. Oh, so I didn't tell you this too. What the session did for me was allow my ego to move out the way and call my primary care and set up, because I had called them a while back because I was struggling before I reached out to you. I said, well, maybe I need to just face some stuff that I thought that I, had put in the past, but I still wouldn't pull the trigger. I was able to talk to someone about going to therapy again. That's huge for me, because when I was talking to you, my ego was like, oh, there's no one worthy. Like, the things that your brain says to you, like, nobody can help you but you, you have so much information. If you had asked me to go see a therapist before, no, I fix. No one fixes me. I do all the fixing. I would have never. So me being able to humble my spirit, move my ego to the side, and know that I need to actively be seeing someone is huge. It's huge. And a lot of people don't let them get to that point. They just, they want to control everything, and you just can't.
You have to be vulnerable somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta let the operating system, right, needs to work cohesively. You can't have a dominant, I've seen people do positive things excessively. You know, I'm going to the gym. What could be wrong with that? You're at the gym just
3 hours a day is an addiction.
Right. Running yourself ragged. It's just another. When I got sober, I wouldn't go to the gym until like 6 months because I know my personality. I would have got consumed with it. And so I said, let me just, take it easy and I'll slowly get back in the gym because I know my personality. I 100. If I'm not gonna do it all the way in, and that's veterans that I meet far and wide, we are 100% people. We go hard. We can't just work out one day, and say, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna start working out. That we make a decision. I'm walking 5 miles and I'm starting tomorrow. There is no easing into it. We either do it all the way or we don't do it at all. And it's insane. You can't function like that.
And we were trained to do that. We were trained to go on 14-mile ruck marches.
We were trained,
right? We were trained to suck it up and keep pushing forward. So for us to make those statements, it's like we've already set the precedent that we can do it.
Right.
So it's not unreasonable or extreme because of our experiences.
But what we fail to remember is that they trained us to do that. Like they didn't just throw you out there. We walked.
Escalated up.
Yeah, we escalated up. And now in our brain, since we've done it before, it's a matter of making a decision. I can low crawl out. No.
Yeah, right.
You got to give yourself a chance to understand what that decision is and just move into it slowly and give yourself enough time to understand that you do have time. We feel like we're not doing what we're supposed to do in the time allotted. Just take it easy, and I think that's hard for a lot of veterans too. That's why I think even seeing metaphysical work as an option is difficult for people like us because we're very tangible people. Like we like to touch and feel and know what, even if it's medication and this and that, like we like to be told what I'm going to do to you, this is what it's going to do. So going into an aspect where you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what's going to come up, you don't know what you need to figure out or what's standing in your way is very, very scary to a lot of veterans. And I don't think they would admit that.
The block of instruction, here's the regulation, here's what's going to happen. It's not predictable in quantum physics. We don't always know what we're going to get when we open up that biofield.
That's the problem. You don't know what your brain is doing or why it's doing it.
Yep. Until we get in and we start looking, and it's like having a treasure box. Like you inherited a treasure box. Okay, let's go in and start to figure out, is this an antique with value? Is this getting in the way? Is this worth throwing away? Like, I can't guarantee what's in the treasure box. What I can guarantee you is we're going to guide together and discover what's in there and throw away the things that are not worth anything and keep the things that are worth a lot of value that we wouldn't have known had we not had someone that had a background in antiques or in collectibles.
Right. It's just like doing healing assessments with my veterans and finding out that they may not be 100% depressed because of what's going on in their life versus a vitamin D and magnesium deficiency, which actually the depletion of it manifests as symptoms of depression. If you're severely deficient in vitamin D and magnesium, though the symptoms, the deficiency of it can manifest as depression. And sometimes I'll give them just a little bit of good quality magnesium mixed in with the vitamin D, voila, enough to relieve the pressure. And that's what metaphysical work does. They just have to do it. They just have to believe it. And I have people who are skeptical that are on medication. After I do my healing assessment, they're like, so you're telling me if I take this vitamin B complex and this and that, it's going to help me and I may not need these pills?
Yep.
Believe it. But then again, that's still tangible for them, right? It's still something I'm telling them to take, and it's just a natural aspect of it. So I'm telling veterans, this is the same thing. It's the same thing as you saying you don't want to take this medication anymore. Is there anything that does it naturally? And me saying, yes, this is it. You don't want to think the way you think anymore. You want to think more efficiently. Then my tangible thing to you is to open your mind, invest in yourself, and have a session and just see, just see.
brought up a good word earlier. You used the word surrender.
Mm.
And that is a huge word when it comes to relinquishing control of the ego.
Mm-hmm.
And we think, military, surrender. Why would I put the white flag up, throw it up and give up, right?
Right.
It's in our ethos to not give up. It's like in the Army ethos, I will never quit.
Nope.
So, but we don't realize that surrender is also maturity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also what you do when you are courageous enough to take the next step is surrender.
Absolutely.
It's not the white flag in the day-to-day world.
No.
Yeah, it's not giving up. Surrendering is relinquishing the things that are in the way. Like, get rid of the faulty weapon system, get rid of the equipment that's not working, let it go, get the new stuff that works better and more efficiently.
Because when my spirit realized it needed to surrender, I was doing well. I had gotten sober. Everything was going well. What I realized though is I was doing it out of force.
Yeah.
I was making that choice to go to my meetings. I was making that choice to be a better wife. I was doing it out of force because I'm used to, right, making a decision and following it through very forcefully. But it wasn't genuine. It wasn't a genuine surrender. Let my soul heal. Let my spirit heal. Let me feel how to be a good wife. I read a book. This is how you be a good wife.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? By doing this,
that piece to fit in.
Absolutely.
Versus letting it flow in.
I wouldn't surrender. I was doing everything by force, still controlling the situation. And I did not want to relinquish control. And when I relinquished control and surrendered, then and only then that's when I saw real change, not change that I made and forced it to be made. Like real change was me surrendering, like humbling my spirit and letting my body work in unison with what, I wanted it to do or I was making it do.
Me too.
It's a different type of feeling.
The more I surrender, the more I manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, I obviously don't have all the answers, essence, spirit, whatever we want to call it. Soul, take over because I don't have the answer for this one. And you need to take point and lead us through, lead the whole, the whole company
Everything.
Through
Right.
this journey. And I like you, force. I was going to force my marriage to be, we're going to force this to happen. We're going to have that white picket fence.
Right.
We're going to have all these things, check the box. And when I had nothing left in my battery, like I was depleted and I let go, is when it felt like all these queue of wishes that I had, it was like, do, they start popping in. Like, what the heck? Like, I tried to make that shit happen.
Yeah, because there's some things that you don't even know you want or know that you need, that when you surrender and you let go, it just flows right in because you're so busy saying, okay, this is what I should want because this is what society says I should want. This is how this is supposed to go. So I'm going to do everything in my control to make those things happen. But when you let go, all of a sudden, like when our landlord at our live work said he was going to sell it, we were specifically looking for a place to house Forgotten Not Gone again. And that's all we were focused on. When we were looking for houses, that's what we're looking for. Something that's a live work, that can work for Forgotten Not Gone. The universe had something else for us.
Something better.
Our own home for us. And so we were just, oblivious. But when the second appraisal fell through on the property that we wanted, that was for Forgotten Not Gone, I said, you know what? We need to really just let go. Whatever happens, happens. Let's look at some more stuff. And then we found our home. So now we're busy trying to get Forgotten Not Gone out of the house because we actually feel protected here. Like we feel like it's a home. But had we not listened to ourselves and surrendered, we would have found another place that was just for Forgotten Not Gone and really wouldn't have, my husband became a completely different person when we got this house. And I thought he had grown already. And within 3 or 4 months, I saw a new growth pattern in him that was only because he felt comfortable in his own home that was for him. Yeah. You don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, even though you think you do, but you gotta nourish it. It's just like any other muscle in your body, and you got to take care of your brain, and you got to take care of that energy and that spirit. And I think this does it. Like you, as open as I am, and as much as I feel, somebody else could have told me about doing a session like this, and I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I would have like, oh, a little hesitation here.
Yeah, I would have been like, what wacky cuckoo, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I could have thought of a whole bunch of things. And it's open, like I'll go tell somebody I know something about their friend just by feeling their energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the nerve to be like, oh, I'm not going to see anybody about my mind and spirit. There's no energy. What?
I'm a metaphysician. I do the same thing. And then I get stuck like, okay,
knock it off.
If you believe in all this,
right?
Why is this thing like?
It's got to be the ego.
Ego kicks in. It's like, oh, that's not safe.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Ooh, that's spooky. Or that's
what I've learned though is whenever I hear "don't do that," now that like defiant part of me is like, wait a minute. I want to be the little kid to find out why I can't drink before 21.
Or I probably should be doing that.
Yeah.
What you do, it's just a part of being someone who eats healthy, someone who reads self-help books, someone who's just trying to connect and be a better person. I think this is just one more exciting tool to put in your toolkit. This is something that you need to help if you are interested in healing your mind, spirit, and body. That you need this. It can heal your mind, spirit, and your body. It needs to be in your toolkit.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelley.
Absolutely. Thank you.